Okay, I just want to check, Jess, are you still in Brisbane or have you had to flee to Tasmania to get ready for the WBBL?
No, so far so good. Haven't had to flee just yet. But I mean, bags have been packed for a few days, so what's a few more?
Wow, I don't even know how you do that. Well, as long as you don't have to fly to Tasmania in the next 15, 20 minutes, we should be okay. So while she's still there, while we've still got you, let's get on with the show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Day 3 review for Sporting News. I'm Melinda Farrell. Joining me is the great Jess Jonassen, still in Brisbane. Luckily, we haven't lost her yet. As Australia, well, it's a pretty interesting prospect now going into Day 4. Australia 143 for 4, still 85, I think it is, before they reach the follow-on, before they avoid the follow-on. So 16 wickets is the equation for India on the last day, which is a pretty big task. But after sort of not moving much as far as the game is concerned for a good part of the day, it all got a little bit exciting under lights, which is kind of what we wanted to see, isn't it, Jess?
Yeah, it was. And I mean, obviously, for the first 2 days, we missed out on that final session due to the storms both times. So to finally be able to get an entire day's play in, yeah, it was really good to see. And yeah, I think I would have really enjoyed and liked to see India come out with a little bit more intent early on in the day's play. But I mean, it's well and truly set up at the moment. But yeah, sort of just the ability to sort of come out and show a little bit more intent a little bit earlier on. And could have, who knows, could have had a 400 run lead, which would have made this situation even further in their favour.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, they were clearly watching for the lights to come on, it seemed, to get the new ball in the hands of Jhulan Goswami and Meghna Singh under lights, which we haven't been able to sort of see yet. So that was clearly there. You're right. If Australia still had, 200 to avoid the follow-on, it would have been even more interesting, but they still have to take those 16 wickets. Now, if you're joining us live, please do feel free to drop a comment or a question in on the live chat. We will get to it if we possibly can. I can see Pooja Gossika, one of our regular viewers, is there already, who says, give us a day 5 and it will be a win. Day 5 needed or a reserve day? Day 5, press. Look, if they can have a reserve day for a 4-day test, you may as well make it a 5th day. Don't you reckon, Jess?
Exactly. Make it official. Sort of hopefully that this test, as well as the previous ones, have been evidence to prove why we need 5-day tests in the women's game. Like, because as we've seen, it just a little bit of rain on each day or whatnot, it could have a huge impact on actually getting a result.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Now, we've got some more questions coming in, but we'll get to that. Well, let's start off with the first topic of the night, our first talking point, and India on top, which they definitely are. I mean, the only scenario you can see at the moment is if there is a big collapse, that India could take the win, but they played it well. I know you said they came out and they didn't have as much intent, but as things stand, they're in a pretty good position in this test match. And I wonder if Meg Lanning could go back in time, if she might make a different choice after winning the toss.
Yeah, look, I think hindsight's always a funny thing that, I mean, you win a toss and you elect to bowl, you don't expect your bowlers to sort of miss the mark as consistently as they did in that first session. And Australia was sort of always on the back foot right from the get-go because of that, I felt. And I mean, even though we say India's on top, and I find it hard to see the possibility of an Australian victory. I know full well if I was there being a part of the game, that I'd still well and truly believe that Australia could force a result. But obviously, sitting on the outside, where you get to watch things a bit more, I guess, from an impartial and unbiased point of view, then yeah, India are well and truly in the box seat, and I mean the when I'm talking about sort of wanting to see the Indians sort of come out with that little bit more intent, yes, the Australians bowled fairly well and made it difficult, but there was sort of still a number of deliveries where I think it probably comes down to the fact that we don't play as much multi-day cricket. So being able to, I guess, effectively move through the gears and understanding what is a high risk shot in a 4-day game compared to, I guess, just holding up an end. And it's probably just the more test cricket that we're able to play, probably the higher those run rates each session and each day will be, and understanding the right moments in a game where you need to push. And because I mean, the batters that were in there for the Indian team were well and truly capable of. We saw what they did in particularly Deepti Sharma. She batted really well today. That she had a really good ODI series as well. And it's sort of, you can see the capabilities there. And yeah, I just would have loved to see potentially where it could have got to, but obviously you knew that there was a plan there from Mitali Raj, that they were wanting to try and bat as long as they could to get as close as they could to unleashing Goswami and Singh under lights. And I mean, so far so good for India. It's shown to be a masterstroke.
Yeah, I did have to have a bit of a chuckle when Jhulan Goswami and Megan were at the crease, and suddenly there was some short stuff flying around. All of a sudden, no, come in. we don't want anyone like, you know, getting one on the finger or anything like that. That was quite funny. Hey, interesting one. We know we want more Test cricket. We know we want 5-day cricket. The multi-format series seems to work really well. Do you think there may be something to look at if 5-day tests aren't an option, or maybe even if they are, who knows? But probably more if they stay at 4-day tests. Is it worth looking at some kind of point system that, say, they use in other first-class domestic cricket, like county championship, where there are various bonus points, so it's not all just hinging on the 4 points on offer for a win?
Yeah, look, I think there is potential for that. I think sometimes it gets a little bit tricky to sort of, you think, okay, well, how many points are actually on offer for the entire game? Do you allocate, okay, for the entire game for a win, it's still 4 points, but then you get those extra points per wicket you take or per 100 runs you get? Or is it just capped at 4 points total and you get a percentage of that depending on whatever it is that your team can achieve? And I know we've done it in the Sheffield Shield here in Australia as well. And I think I'm probably wrong in this, but I have felt like it's promoted a more attacking and aggressive brand of cricket from everybody, because there's more than just the win on the line. It's, at the end of the day, it's sort of, you still get a point regardless, or you still can get some form of points whether you win or lose. And that sort of forces some captains' hands in a way for aggressive declarations or some aggressive batting or things like that. And I think from memory, I've seen a lot more results sort of have eventuated from that, particularly in the Sheffield Shield. So I think it's something to obviously take into account. But I think too, it's probably one of those things that the more that we're able to play longer format cricket, the more we'll understand, and similar point to that I touched on before, the more we'll understand the right times in a session or in an innings to push, or when to absorb the pressure, and when to have attacking fields or defensive fields. That it's, at the moment, we're sort of still learning on the go. So I mean, it is definitely something to consider for sure.
Well, yeah, I believe you know people within cricket. and within Cricket Australia. Maybe you can sort of put that suggestion. Well, yeah, but no one listens to me. You're far more important and influential. But it would be a really interesting one to see. I wonder what's been set up, if everything's set in stone for the Ashes later in the summer, which, of course, I'm sure you'll be taking part in front and centre. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that. Do keep sending those questions in. I'm going to get to some, but we're going to look at the second one. Let's talk about the consistency, and this really comes down to the two bowling attacks. I mean, Australia did pretty well, I thought, and there were times it was good to see some venom in the attack from Stella Campbell, in particular, some terrific sort of short bowling there that really challenged them. But then when India came out, they just found that length straight up, didn't they? That perfect length. And at one point you saw a pitch map, and the grouping on the pitch map was exactly what you would want to see in a test match.
Yeah, it is. And I think it's no surprise then that India were able to get 4 wickets in a session, where Australia sort of only managed to do that once in the game, if that. So it's sort of the consistency of where you're going to be pitching the ball, both line-wise and lengthwise. It's no surprise that then you're able to build pressure, and as a result, you're able to take wickets as well. And I think for India as well, that their fielders sort of backed the bowlers up in that sense as well, that opportunities were taken. I think there was only one put down by Deepti Sharma in the gully, but I think at one point Meg Lanning was sort of like a bit of a cat having 9 lives out there, that in the space of 3 balls, she almost got out 3 times. So you can see the consistency of where the Indian bowlers bowled compared to the slightly inexperienced, and I guess the Australian bowlers, probably because of that inexperience, were a little bit nervous and potentially went searching for wickets. And for a lot of the bowlers in our Australian side, it's sometimes when you go searching for the wickets, it's not the best point of attack for you. That is probably more so just focusing on trying to nail six deliveries in as close of an area as you can and build pressure that will result in the wickets. So yeah, potentially when you don't take some early ones, that the Australian bowlers maybe searched a little bit, whereas the Indian bowlers, and I guess with Goswami showing her experience and leading from the front.
And you mentioned Meg Lanning there. I mean, when she did get out, there was quite clearly an inside edge there, but we also saw Deepti Sharma get out to an umpiring error. And there's a question here from Amitayu Sengupta, which a lot of people have been asking. Question for Jess, your thoughts on not having DRS for the series, just so that people understand what I've certainly been told is that it was always planned to have DRS for this entire series, but because of border closures and getting the right personnel in, it's a really specialised technical job doing DRS, that it became logistically virtually impossible. Although you do have to sort of question, if it was a men's test, would everyone have moved heaven and earth to actually make sure they got there? But your thoughts on that, Jess?
Yeah, well, I think it's an interesting one that I know for, say, the BBL this year, how there were a few sort of umpire decisions that didn't quite go to plan last season in that, and this season they're now bringing in a review-like system. So not necessarily the DRS, because from what I understand, the DRS actually costs a lot of money as well. And like you said, it's a real specialized thing. But if it's a broadcast game, you've got ability for replays, you have a third umpire, you have all these different camera angles. So to be able to pick up something like that, so whether it's DRS as such or some form of review system, I think should still be in place. That in the time that the umpire has made the decision before the batter walks over the boundary line, a replay of that will show up. It will show that the ball for Deepti Sharma has pitched way outside leg stump. It will show for the dismissal with Meg. It's just the same as, I guess, a bit of a touchy subject, but in the second ODI, that no ball, it's a similar process. That was reviewed after the fact. So why could these dismissals not be reviewed either?
Yeah, that's a really interesting point, and perhaps that's a worthy question to sort of ask people, particularly with 3 T20s still coming up, and so this issue may well come up again. Also, I just saw another one as well. We've got lots of people coming in and talking about it. Do you know if I do believe that DRS is due to be there for the women's Ashes, though? Is that right? Do you know that one?
I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. I know it's been talk in the background of wanting to try, but yeah, from my understanding, a lot of it was sort of in and around the cost of it, and sort of, yeah, where the sort of priorities fit. Obviously, with the men's Ashes, it's a bit different. It's 5 test matches. Obviously, yeah, for us, there's limited overs and probably a bit more moving around as well. But yeah, it's sort of, I think it's one of those things that, yeah, I'd be a strong advocate that if it's not the DRS specifically, it's some form of review system that still works in a similar way, but it might just not be the matter of adjudicating the LBW decisions, but it is one of those review systems to take out that I guess larger umpire error, because we know that umpires are humans too, and they're not going to get it right 100% of the time. But yeah, if certain aspects of the game have the ability to be reviewed, I don't see why those sort of things aren't included in it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think the technical term is a howler, but I suppose at least there was one for each side. Perhaps it all evened out a little bit. But let's get on to our third topic, because we want to talk about her. It's Goswami the Great, but I also saw a really great one from Jeff, who calls her Jhulan Goswami. Which I highly approve of as well. Look, to be at the top of her game for as long as she is, but that was incredible bowling from her before tea, after tea. Elisa Healy, well, she got worked over absolutely beautifully, you'd have to say. That was some wonderful bowling. She's not as quick as she used to be, sort of 7 or 8 years ago, but boy, she can still get it up there, can't she? And the control she had moving the ball about was just brilliant to watch.
Absolutely. I mean, it's probably as good to watch as that photo of her bowling action is good to look at. That,
It's good,
I
isn't
mean,
it?
she's 38 years old, and um, I think she actually debuted. She started playing Test cricket before both Darcy Brown and Stella Campbell from the Australian lineup were even born. So she's been at this a long time, and today she really showed her experience in the game, and her ability to, yeah, like she moved it off the seam both ways. And like you said, that set that she bowled to Elisa Healy to eventually take her wicket, it was probably the perfect setup that a fast bowler could do. And I mean, you get one to swing in and almost take the top of off stump, and then the next one you get it to hit her in the head, and then next minute she's nicked off because one's just sort of gone the other way. But it wasn't only that as well. We know what she's capable of with the ball, but at the end of the Indian innings, where she hit those couple of boundaries, where one of them she's the tallest person on the field, and she ends up playing a pull shot off her knees, and it still goes for 4. So she's an absolute character of the game, and it's so great to see that somebody of her class and her experience is still going around and still on the scene. And I mean, I saw she was off the field for a little bit of time there, so hopefully it's nothing sort of too serious for her, that she was just having a well-earned break. And yeah, I mean, what she's capable of in this longest format is exceptional. And yeah, I mean, that's one reason I guess I'm glad that I'm on the sidelines, is that I don't have to face her when she's in this kind of form.
Yeah, it certainly has been just brilliant to watch. is an outstanding ambassador of the game as well. Now, just a couple more comments as well. There are lots of people online tonight. Arpan asks, Mel, this is one for you, Jess. Mel, I heard when Oz Tour India, it's going to be at least 2 tests. Have you heard? And if not, then what do you both make of this idea? Jess would love getting a bag on those wickets.
All right. Well, yeah, that's news to me. I mean,
There you go.
I know there's a potential obviously for a reciprocal sort of multi-series format, but I mean, yeah, if there's 2 tests involved in that series, bring it on. I'm all for it. And yeah, as I said in a previous show, that I absolutely love whenever we go to India. Obviously, slightly conditions slightly more suited to my type of bowling. But at the same time, I've also got a bat on it, so it'll be a fun challenge and a good contest.
Now, Sanskruti Kanawat, I hope I said that right, Sanskruti. If India do manage to enforce a follow-on, won't the bowlers get tired, considering there are only 5 to bowl Australia out? How do you think they go with a task like that?
Yeah, I mean, that's always the challenge you have. I mean, I know sort of in previous eras of Test cricket, enforcing the follow-on was a big thing. And I think now in this day and age with workloads and whatnot with bowlers, that sort of comes into play a little bit. And I guess, yeah, enforcing the follow-on will all be about how much time would still be left in the day. I think if India managed to get those final Australian wickets very early in tomorrow's play, that then there's likely that the Indian batters might come out for a rapid fire sort of 10, 15 overs to boost it up again, but and then send Australia back in to still give Australia an incentive to try and go for the win. But India will want to make sure that they set themselves up into a position where they definitely cannot lose. So it's sort of obviously the bowlers will be tired, but yeah, it's one of those things that if you want to go for the win, sometimes you have to dangle the carrot and take those risks.
Yeah, that's always the big question. A good comment from Jeff saying it's a tragic loss of Test cricket that Jhulan or Perry not playing 50 tests. The athletes these women are certainly deserve, I guess, the status of Dravid, Sachin or Ponting. Yeah, it's amazing to think that even Jhulan Goswami, I think this is her 12th test, which in 18 years at the top is not a lot. But a comment or a question, really good question from Colin York for you. Why were the Indians able to bowl a much tighter line from ball 1, whereas Australia couldn't? What do you think is going on there?
Yeah, I reckon it probably comes down to a bit of probably inexperience with the Australian bowlers. Obviously, we had Elise Perry there, and she's just got better and better as the match has gone on. And obviously, we've got a few debutantes in there as well, with Darcy Brown and Stella Campbell, the 2 other, and even Annabelle Sutherland, the other pace bowlers. So probably a bit of inexperience and a bit of nerves probably came into it. Obviously, Magna Singh was also on Test match debut, but I think she would have taken a lot of confidence into this Test match out of how she bowled out of the ODI series. So yeah, it's sort of sometimes it's one of those things that your nerves can just take over, and I mean, yeah, and you look at the quality of the the batters that the Australians were bowling to as well, and the attacking nature of both Shafali Verma and Smriti Mandana, that your margin for error is very, very, very small. And obviously having the luxury, I guess, of the Indian batters starting in the sunlight as well, where the conditions were probably really, really good. And then, yeah, you had the Indian bowlers coming into bowl to the Aussie batters under lights that, yeah, it sort of potentially gave them that little bit of an edge where I think they were a bit fresher as well.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And just one from Pooja Gosika, still here. What difference do you find with the Aussie field settings and the Indian field settings? With your captain's hat on, did you sort of notice any real differences in there that might have made a difference?
Look, I think the main difference was in around Matali Raj. was able to, I guess the Indian team are in the position to be able to set a lot more attacking fields, and that's what Mitali sort of did. That even bringing Gaikwad on in the 12th over as well, that was a really strong move, I think. And obviously, as a left arm spinner, I'd be jumping at that. I'm really excited about that. But having sort of 3-4 people around the bat as well. But in saying that, I think Mitali was able to do that because her bowlers were bowling those consistent areas, and they were able to build that pressure. Whereas for the Australians, Meg Lanning didn't really have that opportunity very early on to be able to keep those attacking fields. She needed to take those fielders out from somewhere to be able to actually stop the hemorrhaging of all those runs. So I think you can't really read too much into it, whether one captain was sort of more attacking than the other. I think it came down to the consistency of the areas that the bowlers were able to hit. That I just think the Indian bowlers have been able to bowl to their field probably 98% of the time. And as a captain, that makes your job a lot easier. And yeah, you sort of don't really need to change too much. But yeah, it'd be very interesting to see what tactics come out to play tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right. And just a thought as well on Pooja Vastraka, because she obviously was the other one to take a couple of wickets. You talk about the experience of Jhulan Goswami. I think she probably mentors all of those young fast bowlers. Were you impressed by her?
Yeah, definitely. I think as well, we were able to see a few slower balls out the back of the hand, and think that out of the back of the hand slow ball really set up that wicket of Tali McGrath as well, that sort of seamlessly came out of nowhere. And yeah, I mean, Verstraeke has bowled with really good pace, and I recall facing her sort of in an ODI over in India a few years ago, and she bowled a really heavy ball, and so the ball sort of came onto you a lot quicker than you thought. And yeah, I think now too she's really sort of coming into her own, being able to bowl more overs, and I think she was another one that probably took a lot of confidence out of the way that she bowled, particularly in those last two ODIs. That she's been in and out of the side for a number of years with injuries, and I think that she's probably come back in a really good space, and she's starting to bowl really well again, and offers a lot with the bat as well. So yeah, she's probably one that Indian side will sort of look to keep in and around that area, and offer some really good support for Jhulan. And obviously when it comes time for Jhulan to hang the boots up, and it wouldn't surprise me if Pooja then takes the new ball after her.
Yeah, well, it's that I just don't want to even think about Jhulan Goswami not being there. So it'll be a sad day when it's not. But well, let's enjoy it while we can, because tomorrow could be the last time that we see Jhulan Goswami bowl in a test match. So that's certainly something to tune in for. There she is. Let's just look at that one more time, because that is an absolute cracking photo.
Surely she has to hang around. If we go over to India to play a test match, surely she would want to go out playing a test match in her own country. Surely.
That is a great shout. Yes.
Come on, Jhulan. Come
on. Stay there. Hang in there, Jhulan. One more round. But we'll see what she can do tomorrow. 16 wickets. It's a big ask, but stranger things have happened. We will see what happens tomorrow, and hopefully we'll be back. I will. Maybe Jess will. We'll have to see. She might have to fly to Tasmania. We'll see what happens. But make sure that you give us a like, subscribe if you can, and keep an eye out for our next day's review and preview as well. We've got Megan Shute on board. We're so lucky to have the insights that we have. So thanks, Jess.
Thank you. Fun as always.
Yeah, it is. I could chat with you all for hours about it all. Always got such great things to say, great insights. And for the rest of you, we will see you very, very soon.